Hanbury Street and Bricklane, and you'll see there's a huge difference here. We've got the Bangla Town in this area, and then we've got the Truman Brewery, which offers a new kind of market experience, which has come under criticism for taking away trade from the traditional Bricklane markets. So a lot of the traders on this side of the shops and as well as the markets have complained that it's serving mainly a tourist industry, which isn't necessarily feeding into the shops here during lunchtime and busy times. So there's tension here with the upmarket, and they're really benefiting from the cultural and financial capital, whereas some of the markets that we're going to visit, which is the Bricklane Market and Sclater Street and Cheshire Street, are very much being affected by these changes. So tourism has really benefited certain people, but not everybody locally. So Bricklane is well known for the markets, for the street markets and community markets. So people used to come here, and we know 2 million visitors arrive here every year. And what actually happened at some point about 7-8 years ago was the Truman Brewery, which is a big landowner, decided that they were going to absorb the market experience. So they've created things like the Truman Brewery Market, the upmarket and backyard market right behind us. And so they're really benefiting from the change in retail hierarchy, whereas the street markets, the traditional street markets, are really being affected and having to go through huge amounts of changes, and in a lot of cases have reduced quite significantly.
Are you vegan? Yeah, all vegan, yeah.
Pop-up style food markets mainly serve people coming into the borough and including tourists. As you can see, there's lots of tourists here on a weekend, but they don't necessarily serve local businesses. And so what we find is the pop-up markets can pop up anywhere, and they really benefit from finance coming in, and it takes finance out of the area. Whereas when it's a traditional London street market, often the finance is then coming back into the community. So it's a more sustainable model of financialization for local people. So we've seen those changes and experienced it. And for a lot of communities, they don't really have the inroads into these markets either. So there's a lot of shifts and challenges coming up at different retail scales that you see on Bricklane today. So here we are at Bricklane Market, and it's got a history here of hundreds of years. It's a working class market really, where lots of communities used to be able to come from their homes and sell goods right here on the street in Bricklane. It's an entrepreneurial place where you could sell to the city, so the city is literally 5-10 minutes away, so you can literally walk there. So Bricklane was a real important conduit for those communities and for opportunities to reach working class communities. And today we see a huge amount of changes, including the type of market stalls that are here. So behind me you'll see that there's loads of lunchtime eateries which are mainly serving the tourist industry here, which you might think is okay and is fine, but at the same time you've got a huge amount of offer for tourists, but less so for local people to have a step in. So for the new generation, they're finding that there's less community coming into Bricklane and benefiting from the opportunities that have been there for previous generations.
I had to say, where was I?
We're just near the Bishopsgate Goods Yard, which is going to see huge large-scale redevelopment. So we're looking at tall towers coming up about the height of that, which is going to be interlocking shopping malls and different shopping experiences, and with it you're going to see increasingly larger and larger brands coming into Bricklane, because they're the beneficiaries of the Bricklane brand, which ultimately started from the community. Because if you look at the history of Bricklane, it was actually communities coming together, creating opportunities for themselves. So we're just in front of a few leather shops here, which has a huge industry here. Lots of communities, the Jewish, the Bengali, the Irish, used to work in leather shops and making jackets and other leather goods, which are no longer as prolific as they used to be. So they used to be little factories in and off Bricklane where heads of families could work on short periods and short contracts. And now you've got a few shops selling to the tourist industry, struggling as well But you used to have leather shops running from Bricklane all the way up to other markets like Petticoat Lane Market, back and forth, and that's really contracted. But it's very much a part of the history and heritage here on Bricklane. We're on Cheshire Street, which has been quite controversial because this northern part of Bricklane is increasingly under question, being affected by gentrification, international forces of financialisation, which has meant that local businesses are being pushed out, rents have gone up, and people have less and less options. And one of the criticisms coming up recently was that the rerouting or the landscaping on Cheshire Street has killed off the Cheshire Street Market, which is again a historic market which is attached to Bricklane. So the Bricklane Markets isn't just Bricklane, but you've got the Sclater Street, Cheshire Street, which sell very different things historically. And if you see here, today Cheshire Street has been rerouted and it's not particularly market friendly. And a lot of the criticism coming from local people is that where are the stalls? Where have the stalls gone that used to be here? And at the moment you've just got one at this end, and a lot of changes coming up further down, which are essentially a shutter shop response to the high street, or to the streets which used to be very vibrant and used to have lots of communities in here. So we're tracking the changes as local activists as well. Where the intersection of Sclater Street and Cheshire Street is, and Bricklane isn't just made up of one main market which you see across here, but Sclater Street would offer second-hand goods. So we're here on a Sunday, so we'll be picking up some of what's on sale, which is from people's attics and cellars. Historically, Sclater Street, interestingly, used to sell birds and animals. So there is a big history of offering something very different. So each market was very specific and catered towards selling particular items. So just a few decades ago, you'd have stalls selling second-hand goods all the way down Sclater Street, and that's been reduced significantly. Today you see just a handful. You have occasionally people popping up selling one or two goods and bits and bobs here and there. And so the market has really felt the pressure of land prices essentially, because we know that the new development, the Bishopsgate Goods Yard, wants to put tall towers here up to 30, even 40 stories, which will change the nature of what is a street market. So this market might not even be here. This market is really, really crucial. You can see some of those stalls have remained, but behind them you can also see where the pressure is coming from a very, very different retail offer, which is affecting the market significantly. And also cars. I mean, you get bigger and bigger cars in this area, which don't really respect the thread or the pattern of the height of the street here, which is much more small winding road. So sometimes what happens is people look at Bricklane and think it's a high street, and because it's successful, but actually it's a winding London lane, which is just very successful. So you can see here these have popped out over the last 3 to 5 years again, and the beneficiaries aren't necessarily the community. It's a questionable amount of social housing that's there, and again, the market traders are really actually probably feeling the edge of it, the hard edge of it.
Hey! Hey, Faisal, what are you doing? Yeah! That's £9 then, Gov. Thank you. I live in Hackney. It's good, but not as good as it used to be, because, you know, you had all the shoe stalls, you had everything here. You could buy anything. Now you can't. The far end of that market used to be full. We got the regulars all the time, but even they get a bit fed up, you know, because it's like anything, you know. they come down here and they can't get things, and then they don't bother coming down again. It's all that used to have clothing stalls, cut glass.
Yeah, because I remember buying my first leather jacket there.
Yeah,
And it used to be the place to go. You used to buy leather jackets and
yeah. But now they want to do away with the markets and make you go to supermarkets and pay 3 times more. It's not the lockdown, it's the price they keep putting up for the stall holders. Keeps going up and up and up and up, and that's the trouble.
It's really affecting local.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's all right.
It's been really nice chatting
You
to
have a nice day.